They didn't see this coming, but deep down, you did. You felt it your whole life. The tug, the inescapable sense that you were special, that you were intended for something more. And now you're standing on the verge of a life-changing event. You were never simply another pawn in their game. You were the one who looked beyond the deception, the person who refused to remain silent, the one who brought a truth so profound that it broke the illusions they had constructed their world on. They believed they were untouchable. They believed they could alter reality. But you held the pin the whole time. And now it is time. Everything they had dreaded is occurring. The masks are sliding. The tales are disintegrating. Justice is pounding on their door. They spent a long time yearning for your quiet. Now they'll have to deal with your voice. You're not only here to see history unfold, you're here to rewrite it. And whether they like it or not, this is your opportunity. Even a close buddy, someone I trusted and who shared my bread, has turned on me. Approximately 41:9. Betrayal. Don't come crashing down like a hurricane. It advances slowly, like a shadow at sunset, so that you don't see the darkness sneaking in. It doesn't come from outside. It emanates from inside. From the people you called family. The people you allow get near enough to glimpse your heart. Those who vowed they'd never turn against you. And yet, they did. Not with an open assault. Not with words shouted in broad daylight, but rather with silence and duplicity. With a grin that seemed forced. An embrace that didn't feel as warm. They proceeded cautiously. I made sure you didn't see the knife coming until it was in your back. At first, you questioned yourself. I thought you were hallucinating it. Because how could someone who once stood with you now be working against you? But discernment does not lie. The truth was there all along. In the manner they hesitated to provide ID when it was most required. In the way they stayed neutral while you were harmed. In the way they profited from your demise but never intervened to prevent it. They assumed you wouldn't notice. I assumed you'd be too broken to recognize the pattern. They thought they could change the tale and walk away unharmed. But allow me to tell you something. God, do not let his chosen one be fooled forever. The curtain lifted and the fog vanished. And now you recognize them for who they actually are. The greatest thing is, they know you see it. They continue on as if nothing occurred, trying to pretend the harm does not exist, trying to persuade themselves that they got away with it. However, they are deeply aware of the consequences of their actions. See, when someone betrays you, they don't just lose you. They lose access to anything related to you. They lose the favor that was bestowed upon them while they stood by you. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. They lose the protection that comes with being linked to you. They miss the opportunity to stand near to someone picked. And there is a result that no apology can reverse. They believed they were invisible. I assumed no one would ever know. They thought they could outmaneuver justice. But here's the thing, truth. It always makes its way to the surface. So, there is nothing concealed. It will not be revealed, and nothing will be kept hidden from public view. Luke 8:17. And now? Now the whole world is coming to realize that the truth was an inconvenience to them. A loose thread in the tale that they needed to tie up before you could talk. They changed the screenplay, portraying themselves as the victimized party and twisting events till they emerged unhurt. Their existence was dependent on distortion, on ensuring that no one questioned their version of events. Least of all, you. They had no fear of confrontation or fury. They dreaded the moment you saw things clearly. Clarity was their undoing. Because if the truth were uttered openly, their carefully crafted illusion would crumble. If your heart is overflowing with God's blessings, let that love radiate. Click the super thank you button and donate $20 or more to sow seeds of faith that will change countless lives. Your giving exemplifies his richness. Be a channel for his grace and watch his kingdom grow through you. They never sought a settlement, only quiet, not peace or reconciliation, but rather your absence from the narrative. For far too long, you performed the role they anticipated, swallowing remarks for the sake of decency, convincing yourself that going away was the best option. Perhaps it was for a while. However, There is a sharp difference between choosing silence and being rendered speechless. There is a huge gap between wisdom and surrender. Silence may be a weapon, but only when used voluntarily, not when forced into the hands of the injured. Taking the high road was never intended to be a penalty that renders you invisible. It was intended to be a decision, a route with a purpose. But what happens when it solely benefits those who do harm? When your silence becomes their most powerful defense, the time for calm perseverance is over. Speaking out is not about seeking vengeance or proving anything to them. It is about recovering your own authority. It is about refusing to have your reality removed. The high road was never intended to deprive you of your voice. And now you refuse to go in silence. They clothe themselves in virtue to evade responsibility rather than seek salvation. Their statements were not petitions for justice, but please comply. They talked about morality while hoping that their own wrongdoings remained hidden. However, no mask can endure the weight of reality indefinitely. Every whispered rationalization, every frantic effort to rewrite history has been recorded not just by you, but also by powers much bigger than themselves. The cosmos does not yield to falsehood, and the truth has never required permission to emerge. The reckoning they hope to avoid has already arrived. Even a close buddy, someone I trusted and who shared my bread, has turned on me. Approximately 41:9. Betrayal. Do not come from strangers. It comes from those who stood with you. They knew your heart. They called you family. They didn't assault you directly. They proceeded quietly, chipping away at your trust while beaming in your face. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. At first, you questioned yourself. Perhaps you disregarded the sensation. Give them the benefit of the doubt. But discernment does not lie. They understood precisely what they were doing. Even worse, they knew you would never do the same to them. But this is something they didn't expect. You did not break. You awoke. They believed they had you tricked. I thought you'd remain blind. I thought you'd never see the reality. But God, do not allow His chosen ones be fooled. The curtain lifted. The illusion broke. And now you see everything. And now they can sense the absence. They lost access to you. I lost the protection that comes with being in your presence. They believed they were winning. But losing you was the true consequence. The finest part. You don't need to do anything. For everything is concealed is intended to be revealed. What is hidden is designed to be revealed. Mark 422. Because when the truth comes out, you won't have to say a thing. They interpreted your calm for submission, assuming they had extinguished your fire. They believed that if they tore you down, obliterated your identity, and hushed your voice, they would be able to walk into what was intended for you. However, no replica can hold what was not made for them. You were always ahead, even when you had doubts and were hesitant. They ran a race that you never participated in, chasing a crown that was never in their grasp. And now, as you lose the traces of your history, you emerge as something wholly new, rather than a version of yourself. The weight of expectation and the shadows of their deception have been completely transformed. The rose they sought to impose onto you has vanished. This is not just a comeback. This is a rebirth. Nothing scares them more than seeing you completely awake, untamed, and unstoppable. They spent their energy attempting to deconstruct you, believing that if they hit hard enough, you would fall and never rise again. They lied. They emulated. They set sophisticated traps to entangle you. But their largest error was underestimating your patience while engaging in short-sighted games. You played for the long term while others went in circles. You moved on purpose. You let them believe they were ahead. Allow them to spin their breath creating tales. Allow them to exhaust themselves in wars they made. And now the facade has fallen. The phony authority they displayed has shattered into nothing. They wanted to dominate the game, but they didn't know they didn't even have the board. Every move they made, every deceptive stride they took, tightened. There is a snare surrounding them. You've never had to battle them. They wreck themselves. And now, when the dust settles, the truth becomes evident. There was never any competition. You were always a force. They thought they would never reach the ultimate barrier. For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought to light. Luke 8:17. They believed they could escape the truth, slip between the gaps, rewrite the tale in their advantage. But allow me to tell you something. Truth doesn't need permission, and justice doesn't need an invitation. You may cover a seed for a season, but when the moment is perfect, that item will burst through the ground, whether they like it or not. When it happens, there is no way to hide what has been building under the surface for far too long. They strolled like kings in a kingdom constructed on falsehood, believing that the walls would never shift and the earth under their feet would never fall. They walked in the dark, spoke in secret, and planned behind closed doors, certain that the light would never find them. But God does not let a falsehood continue long. The weight of their own acts is crushing down, and their foundation isn't as stable as it once was. Relationships, once based on convenience, may seem like obligations. The once loyal followers begin to hunt for escapes, and the power they believed would endure begins to slip through their fingers. They are first unaware of what is going on. They term it terrible luck. They claim it's simply a bad season. But allow me to tell you something. No season can rescue what was never intended to last. The same energy they employ to manage, control, and distort reality to their liking is bouncing back with force. They spent their days creating illusions, believing that their words might support a sandcastle. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. But as the storm hits and the weight of reality pounds in, the fissures become too large to ignore. They grin despite the strain and convince themselves everything is all right. But deep inside, they know. The late night looking at the ceiling, the abrupt distance from the people they trusted, and the fact that even their own words no longer seem credible. It is all catching up. So here's the deal. You do not need to raise a finger. You don't need to pursue. You don't need to argue. You don't need to fight. Because what is already in motion can't be halted. They spent so long believing they were in charge. They're the ones tugging the strings. They're the ones who set the scene. However, the stage has been inverted. The script has been revised, and they are now being observed. And then it all collapses. Because it will. There will be no more excuses, no diversions, and no more running. The same method they established their power remains the same. It will be taken away, nor because you demanded it, nor because you wanted vengeance, but because what they created was never genuine in the first place. Let me tell you something else. This isn't just about them. This is about you taking ownership of what has always been yours. You did not lose. You did not lag behind. You were being positioned. Because in the end, God don't just balance the balances. He flipped them. And once he does, there is no turning back. There's no need to pursue justice. It is already being pursued. Retaliation is unnecessary. No effort is necessary. The weight of their own lie is bringing them beneath the scales, which are constantly balanced and cannot be tipped permanently. Pay careful attention. Watch as the very narrative they created turns against them, as the illusions on which they constructed their world begin to crumble under the weight of truth. Truth does not whisper. It does not seek permission. It smashes through lies, dismantles illusions, and leaves nothing unscathed. They believed they could control the perception of the tale and hence govern how it was conveyed. But suddenly their cries are drowned out by something even more powerful. The irrefutable and unstoppable power of truth. No more distractions or deception. Only the brutal reality they desperately wanted to avoid. They are now completely exposed, with no place to hide among the rubble of their falsehood. The barriers they created to hide their falsehoods are falling, and the rumors they previously controlled now contain a reality they cannot deny. The weight of their previous acts pounds down, stifling them in the same manner they used to silence others. But it's no longer just about them. What was previously buried has become a light, a signal to people who have long endured in silence. One voice becomes many, a growing power that cannot be ignored. This is more than just personal vindication. This is disruption, the breaking of a cycle, and broken cycles do not regenerate. This isn't about retribution. It's about emancipation. And now, with the bindings of silence shattered, there is no going back. Don't be fooled. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, he will reap. Galatians 6 verse 7. Betrayal doesn't strike you all at once. It flows slowly, like poison in the sea. At first, nothing was noticeable, until one day everything tasted different. It does not originate from outside. Orders do not come from someone standing at a distance. It comes from those who formerly walked beside you. Sometimes it's those who are blood relatives to you, who should have been your protector but instead chose quiet. They saw the truth, or felt it stirring. However, instead of standing with you, they turned away. Not because they didn't care, but because comfort seemed preferable to boldness. They prioritized keeping the peace above protecting you. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. And when you eventually spoke out, they dubbed you bitter and theatrical. Not because you were incorrect, but because your honesty made them uncomfortable. Then there were others. They smiled at you while covertly betting against you. So-called pals. Co-workers who applauded when you entered but muttered when you departed. They didn't want to watch you fall. Not precisely, but they didn't want to see you succeed either. But here's the deal. They never saw it coming. Every wound, every falsehood, and every act of treason did not destroy you. It sharpened you. They believed they were winning. They thought they had the upper hand. They thought they could keep you blind, guessing, and trapped. But God does not keep his chosen ones in the dark long. And now they suffer the consequences of their actions. Now they are scrambling. Now they are rewriting history. They now claim to have always been in your corner. But you remember. You recall every excuse and every moment. They chose self-preservation before devotion. Cowardice trumps integrity. They figured you'd let it slip. I assumed you would keep silent. But time always brings the truth to light. The finest part. You don't have to say anything. For everything is concealed is intended to be revealed. What is hidden is designed to be revealed. Mark 422. The truth already speaks for itself. They will believe you have changed, but in truth you have merely returned to your true self, no longer shrinking to make others comfortable, no longer suppressing your instincts for the purpose of maintaining peace. The weight of falsehood is no longer on your shoulders. It never belonged to you. If they intended to be seen differently, they should have behaved differently. Some betrayals teach a lesson, while others act as a warning. You now comprehend the difference. Long before the falsehoods unraveled, the veneer crumbled, and the betrayals emerged. You were already aware of that profound, unshakable emotion, the faint whisper at the back of your head, the anxiety you ignored because you wanted to believe in them more than you did in yourself. You showed them grace even if your instincts warned you not to. But, as is typically the case, understanding emerges gradually. Then, all of a sudden, the patterns were obvious. The truth is difficult to ignore. What you previously referred to as doubt was really intuition. What you viewed as crazy was really foresight. And you've come to trust it. You are no longer waiting for evidence to confirm what your soul already knows. They tricked you once and will never mislead you again. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not conquer it. John 1 verse 5. They believed they were so intelligent that they could go through the world undetected, slipping, passing judgment, and concealing their tracks with flowery words and meaningless smiles. But allow me to tell you something. When the light appears, the darkness is no match for it. You don't have to pursue it or push it because, when the time comes, the truth will always rise up and speak for itself. They felt they were surpassing you. They believed they had made something so airtight that nothing could disclose it. But you weren't left behind while they ran in circles, spinning their web of deceit. You were ahead. You sat there, watching and waiting for everything to happen precisely as it should. Because insight does not arrive on your timetable. It does not arrive when you want it. It comes when the moment is perfect and the fog has lifted. The dust had settled. What was previously concealed is now out in the open. They attempted to keep you confused and make you question what you knew in your soul. But discernment does not lie. You didn't anticipate the indications. You did not misinterpret the warnings. They were there all along, leading, sculpting, and preparing you for this time. And now you can see everything. Every game, half-truth, every tiny trick. They used to keep ahead. But here's the deal. They were never in the lead since the goal was never to be revealed. This was about you getting promoted. See God, don't squander time. Every delay, every minute of stillness, every time you wanted to speak out but didn't. That was not weakness. That was strategy. The cosmos was not punishing you. It was about situating you. You were never held back. You were being trained. Every hurdle, every aggravation, every time you had to bite your tongue was sharpening your vision and increasing your commitment, because you weren't only intended to get through this. You were supposed to rise from it. And now that you see, there's no turning back. There is no reason to battle. There's no need to dispute. There's no need to prove anything. Because the instant you walked out of their game, you proved that their influence over you was not genuine. It was an illusion. Illusions operate only when you believe in them. But you don't believe the falsehoods anymore. So they are no longer present in the place where you walk. You don't need vengeance. You don't need retribution. Because distance represents true justice. Elevation is the true solution. They will observe as you climb. Oh, they will be watching. And they'll wonder why nothing they do can shake you anymore. They will wonder why the same old techniques aren't working. The fact is that you don't live there anymore. You've progressed and ascended, and they will never attain that level. Our weapons of battle are tremendous rather than carnal. God will bring down fortresses. 2 Corinthians 10 verse 4 and baby, the strongholds have fallen. This was never a one-sided battle against every effort to undermine you. There were invisible hands guiding you through every betrayal intended to break you. There were factors that supported your power. The apparent and unseen support around you created an unshakable foundation, a force larger than the havoc they attempted to create. They coveted not just your tenacity and honesty, but also the persistent presence of those who genuinely saw you. Their objective was to isolate you so you would believe. But when the truth was out, you would be alone. They miscalculated the energy that is working in your favor. Those who were destined to walk by you never wavered or succumbed to the deceptive tongue's illusions. And now, as the last reckoning approaches, truth settles in and justice advances where they once thought themselves untouchable. You stay rooted not in wrath or fear, but in the strength of those who have always supported you. No weapon made against you will flourish. You will condemn every mouth that comes up against you in judgment. Isaiah 5417. They believed they could hold back what was coming. They believed their words, falsehoods, and manipulations might counteract what had already been written. But allow me to tell you something. Nothing can stop God from declaring the hour has come. See, they constructed their home on sinking sand. They stood so tall and arrogant, believing they were impenetrable. They thought their base was unshakable. However, a home constructed on falsehoods will collapse when the storm arrives. And the storm is here. They attempted to conceal the truth, to alter the tale, and to keep their version of events alive. But the truth is like a deluge. You cannot stop it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. You can't contain it. You don't have control over where it flows. The barriers they created to protect themselves are beginning to collapse. People they formerly controlled are starting to ask questions. The same people who applauded for them, who stood with them, who believed their story. They're beginning to notice the fissures. And this is the bit they didn't expect. The more they attempted to quiet you, the louder the truth became. They believed they could shove you down, bury you, and obliterate you. But what they didn't realize was that you weren't being buried. You were being planted. Because, let me tell you something. When God plants you, no one can halt your development. You never fought this war alone. Every individual who has ever had their voice silenced, and every heart shattered by falsehood, Every soul that has ever been ignored and insulted. They are now standing alongside you. This is more than simply a personal triumph. This is an increasing trend. And now they're in a panic. They sense it. The change, the weight of what they've accomplished. I'm pressing in on them. The energy they used to hold you down is returning back. The foundation on which they built their authority is beginning to disintegrate under them. They wanted you to feel tiny. They wanted you to feel helpless. But they didn't comprehend that you were never alone in this struggle. You're a part of something larger. A force they can't contain. A movement they can't control. This is divine justice in action. And now comes the most painful phase for them. There's nothing they can do to stop it, no matter how hard they try. No matter how many falsehoods they tell or how hard they attempt to alter history, it is too late. The narrative is no longer in their control. So, let them panic. Let them scurry. Allow them to find out how to clean up the mess they created. Because of this is their reckoning. He has deposed monarchs and exalted the poor. Luke 1:52 and the chosen one are ascending. The transition has occurred, and there is no turning back. The days of second-guessing are done. The age of reducing yourself for their comfort is over. You have totally embraced your power, and they can sense it. They will try to undermine you, draw you back into the shadows, and make you wonder whether standing up for your truth was worthwhile. But now, you're free of uncertainty. You no longer play their games or seek approval from those who have never invested in your development. They feel the shift, the certainty of their own demise, and the gravity of the repercussions they fought so hard to prevent. Every falsehood they constructed their world on is crumbling under them. Every bogus tale they concocted is crumbling in plain sight. They intended you to dread this moment, but as it unfolds, they are terrified. So keep marching on, unshaken and unstoppable. You do not need vengeance. You don't need fury. The truth is your strongest weapon, and it's already winning. The time has run out, but yours has only just started. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more.